Hey guys, before the video starts, I just want to take a moment to give a big thank you for clicking on my first YouTube video on the channel, but also an apology for the audio quality. I will try to improve as I go along. I am certainly not used to this sort of thing. Anyway, enough of me rambling. Please enjoy the video, and thank you again. Hello, my name is Hoi4, and thank you for tuning in. This is going to be my in-depth guide to the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel for the Old World Blues mod to Hearts of Iron 4. Now, for those that are unaware, we're in a bit of a bind. The Mojave territories, which completely surrounds us, wants to end us. And also, in time, Kaiser's Legion, which I believe is 2 years, is going to also want to conquer the Mojave. So we need to deal with General Oliver Lee in short order and make preparations to fend off Kaiser. And then we will take it from there. I've not seen an in-depth guide for the Mojave chapter, so that is what I'm going to attempt to provide here. So Iron Man mode on, historical AI focus is enabled. Let's get to it. Okay, now that we're here, let's go over initial setup, which I find to be very important to prepare us for the near future. So for research, we're going to start off with industry. All of our industry booming. Industry, construction. From there, we're going to go to Ohm's Law. Then after that, robots. Yes, I know. We're not going to be 100% pure, but that is because we suffer manpower deficiencies, and we're going to need a lot of bodies. As for factories, we're going to start building up Hidden Valley by 2. This will get done in relatively short order. I'm going to start with the serpent that would swallow the sun. Ominous. As for troop recruitment, I will start with 2 divisions of paladins. Where they deploy is completely irrelevant. And I'm also going to get 2 night patrols as well. And I'm going to leave those in the queue. As far as our troops, we're going to group them all up, put them under Nolan Nakamura, and we're going to stick them on the Good Springs front line, give a spearhead order for the northern push. Something to not forget about. Make sure that you build an intelligence agency ASAP. Do not wait. Because the Mojave chapter gets a little mini quest that you can unlock vertibirds. The quest itself is RNG dependent. Basically, if during this first part of the quest your agent gets captured by the Mojave territories, you'll want to restart. If you don't care for vertibirds, then it's completely irrelevant. Don't worry about this whole bit. It's completely irrelevant to the guide. So that is our initial setup done. So we will start ticking down the time. So a bunch of these pop-ups are gonna come up. Largely they are your choice, whether you prefer stability or war support. I prefer stability. There's only, I believe, 2 focuses that come about in this whole bit here that really matter, and I'll touch on that as we go. Alright, so this is the first small but significant decision that you have to make between civilian and arms factory. In this case, I'm going to go with arms factory, but this gives us a perfect opportunity to go to our production side of things and start making preparations for it. Now, I am going to be going anti-tank weapons too, and we're going to drop guns down from 2 to 1, just so that we can start getting these out as quick as possible. And from there, you're going to be left with gun runners, redistribute, the stockpile, Helios 1, etc. So we're going to go with a very heavily civilian factory focus here and a light gun focus. So we're going to first rush for the gun runners, and then we'll be sure to pick up all of the civilian factory options here and testing the bear. As soon as you're able to with your agency, start working on your upgrades for counterintelligence and get your spy setting up intel network for in Vault 3 ASAP if you're after the vertibirds. Right, so we just finished research of our new scrap bots, so we're going to put those into the production queue, and we're also going to add one extra production to power armor. You want to make sure you have this set up before you finish researching gunrunners and not be a idiot like myself, and make sure that when your agency is done and your agent is out and about doing their thing in Vault 3, that you go and you trade for some water. If you do it right away, immediately after the agency's built, you won't have to worry about production efficiency penalties when your 3 brand new factories come out the gate running. Once your initial batch of production research is done, just keep leveling it up, and from there focus on advancing your industry and engineering and land doctrines. You also want to pick up automaton when you can, and I like to go for healing powder as well as eventually grabbing dynamite and saw. That much is all up to you. Just make sure for the very beginning you are focusing on your industry. So while you're upgrading your intelligence agency, picking up 2 levels in anti-partisan if you have the bottle caps will also help you with the subjugation of the Mojave later. So once you get your first batch of political power, I almost 100% of the time go for Golden Gecko. After that, depending on what path down here you want to go down, will depend on if you prioritize Scribe Scruler or not prioritizing him. If you go down the more militaristic path, that will give you army experience, and thus you can delay grabbing army XP. The next batch of 100 PPs, we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves even more PP. Yummy, yummy. Now, with all of those bonuses, if you get a random event called Stonks and you get a free 60k bottle caps, I like to use that towards getting myself well-equipped army. This just fast tracks your economy a lot faster. If you don't get stonked, you could still do this and it works just fine. The only thing that's important once you get these 2 is just make sure you grab Edgar Harden. The things you want to be using your bottle caps towards outside of improving your intelligence agency is investing in small business to help you pump out all your tools a lot faster, and if you get stonks, political bribes to decrease the cost of the economy laws just to save you a little extra PP when going for well-equipped army. The faster you're able to transition to well-equipped army, the better in the long run, as this will help jumpstart building more military factories that will be useful in the near future. So, once you've researched testing the bear, you have your first major decision whether you're going to choose to be pacifist or aggressive. Pacifist is the safest option, but it comes with some drawbacks later on to your research stability and consumer goods. But it gives you in turn a lot of manpower and a lot of preparation, which means that you can focus on having tons of manpower for the future. It's the safest and best choice. The other option, personally my favorite, is the aggressive route, where you will have very little manpower, but you get an incredible attacking general and an insane research buff later on. The drawback of it, though, is that sometimes Death and Glory might not trigger in time, depending on what the NCR research is. So you might have a much tougher war for the Mojave if you go this route. So, but for the sake of the guide, I'm gonna go with the safe route, meaning I'm gonna take manpower as opposed to preparation, and we're also gonna go down. I could make you care. When the followers of Apocalypse come, always let them in. If you're going the route of chems like I am, it's really good if you got some free PPs to go ahead and start nabbing some of their medical supplies. But they're going to be much useful later on as well. But I'm going to save my PP for now so I can get my hands on Scribe Schooler since I'm going the pacifist route. Make sure all newly trained divisions go towards your eastern flank to take Hoover Dam and Boulder City, as well as Bitter Springs later on. If you haven't already, make sure that you are also recruiting your robots. Make sure that you are building military factories the entire time. And once your production queue looks like this, any new factories for the next little bit into the future is going to go towards robots. If you start to run low on any scrap metal, then make sure that you trade for some more. You're trickling XP, you're gonna bump the size of your power armor patrols up to a combat width of 12.5. We will be improving that further on as we get access to more power armor in the future. Don't worry about changing your night patrol templates, as these will eventually be temporarily swapped out in favor of light robot divisions. When the followers finally establish themselves, you'll use the requesting aid in order to fulfill your need for your chems if you went the route of chems. If otherwise, and even if you did, you will want to help with the settlements to get you free civs. You can take agriculture experts if you want, but once you win the war, it's not relevant anymore. So if you're going the route of unlocking vertebrates and your agent has not been captured yet, then you can start setting up your second spy in the divide. So that way, when you are complete with Vault 3, you're immediately able to transition over to the divide. Alright, so at this point, if you've gone the aggressive route, the Operation Sunburst might trigger by this point before you can complete Death and Glory. But before the war happens, some things to double check. Make sure all of your divisions are regular. Make sure you have battle plans for a northern push in the west and a northern push in the east. And make sure you go for all of the settlements here in the north. Bitter Springs, Camp McCarran, Vault 3, Boulder City, and Hoover Dam. If you take all 5 of those settlements, those will all be worth enough VPs for you to quickly end the war. You do not need to push in the south. You just need to make sure that they don't push in and take Helios 1 and Hidden Valley, and you are just fine. Of course, Stonks chooses to fire well after I did my trade law, but no matter, I suppose we will find another use for all of those bottle caps. Okay, so once you finish the pacifist route for your focus tree, you're just going to double back and grab power armor blueprints. None of these emergency protocols are going to be relevant because you should win the war long before any of these finish, and even before power armor blueprints finishes itself. So we're just going to take that as we get ready for the upcoming war that should be around the corner. Of course, on the eve of Operation Sunburst, Stonks triggers yet again. Okay, well, with that, I guess we'll start saving up probably for military signing bonus, just to add additional manpower. Okay, so with Sunburst upon us, The AI will immediately begin to attack your front lines. Let them exhaust themselves. Let them tire themselves out. Once their organization plummets, we activate our orders and we go for their throat. Alas, the Mojave falls. Now, we're going to simply select all, take all of their states, and continue. Now, if you think that you're much better than I am, and you've got a lot of stones, you can attempt to take on the NCR right here, right now. Unfortunately, I'm a bit more pragmatic, and I'm going to opt to not push it too far, which puts us in a temporary non-aggression pact, as our focus should be towards the east. Kaiser will come for you in a little over half a year's time, sometime around between February and April of the following year. So what you're going to want to make sure that you do is you have one general guarding all of the immediate crossings at Hoover Dam, Nelson, Cottonwood Cove, and Needles. And then you have your second general on area defense, covering the entire coastline, including the harbors, in order for defense. Also, you'll note that when you finish the war, there's going to be a lot of things you have to repair. So any military factories that are still in the production queue, suspend that for the time being. Focus on repairs. Get everything fixed up. Any excess agents in your intelligence network, bring them over. Start rooting out resistance, because this is going to be a big nuisance for you the longer you leave that. All right. So with power armor blueprints done, we're now going to shift our focus down to Triumph for the Troubled and begin working our way down. The only focus here that really matter is make sure you always take Throne of the Troubled, because 20 power in Hoover Dam is irrelevant, because Hoover Dam will output far more power than that, especially once we start upgrading the turbines. And the arms factories from Citadel of the Craven will be just simply built through the civilian factories you get here, as well as we get an additional 5,000 population. We bypass Breach of Turbulent Power. We will be picking this up later for Archimedes, and we want to rush down to the research slot as quickly as possible. And while I'm at it, let me go ahead and grab where is he? The Paladin Finley for the extra stability and war support. Very nice, very nice, very nice. If you went the aggressive route, make sure you go to all of your regular infantry and go ahead and disband them. Kaiser won't appear for another half a year, giving you plenty of time to pump out robots to help defend. The only difference that's going to make for you should be that when you do area defense, focus on just guarding the naval bases as opposed to the entire coastline. It takes Kaiser a little while before he starts to do naval invasions anyway, so as long as you've saved up PP before then, you won't have to worry about guarding your entire coastline. But if you went the pacifist route, you should have the manpower and the robots to effectively guard the entire coastline, making Kaiser's initial attempt at conquering the Mojave a relative joke. Alright, so if your spies have uncovered the vertebrate graveyard in the Divide, then you're pretty golden. The reason why you wanted to rush this for the Divide is because it's a lot easier to build the intelligence network against the Divide compared to the NCR, because the NCR will conquer the Divide and are highly likely to capture your spy and slow your progress down in the process, when your spies are better suited towards quelling rebellions in the Mojave ASAP. If you'd like to thank me now that you went with civilian factories over military factories earlier on, now is your time to do so. You are welcome. Successfully completing the vertibird excavation, you now have the vertibird schematics. You can still do Yuma Cave if you really want to. I'm gonna hold off on doing that and focus my spies on quelling the uprisings at home first before I send them off to Yuma. But you can do as you wish. If you wish to go straight to Yuma, you are more than welcome to. But you can also postpone that for later. Okay, so once you're at this point, as far as PP is concerned, your focus should just be on trying to beef out your knights and paladins. So I would get knightly armaments and work my way towards getting weapons expert and anything else that would buff up your knights. So this is something that's important to touch on. Border skirmish at the dam. People will see this warning. It's a warning that the Legion's coming at some point soon. They won't be coming for at least another half a year. Don't panic. People see this, and the little information tab tells you you should grab the preparing against the Legion focus. This is important, but it's not relevant right now. You don't need it for the first time Caesar comes knocking, but you will need it for the second time he comes knocking. But don't panic. Stick to the original goal of going down the research slot, and we are going to go another route that will be setting us up even better for the next time Caesar comes. So don't panic when you see that. If you happen to have the caps, make sure to grab military signing bonus whenever you can. Any way to increase your flux of manpower, do it. Except for chems being banned. You can leave that as is. You don't want to be losing monthly population when your population is already small enough as it is. But just keep growing your knights, keep growing your robots and your manpower to prepare yourself against Kaisar. It's a bit easier if you went the pacifist route, but if you went the aggressive route, you should still be fine. If you're noticing you have a surplus in weapons, for example anti-tank rifles here, I'm going to switch off of that and I'm going to go ahead and divert that towards automatic weapons. It's going to give me a whole lot of extra soft attack. So we're going to start pumping these out. We don't need too many, maybe 200 or so will do the trick. Okay, so once you've integrated the Mojave, you want to delay seeking the severed stars if you still have a huge queue of repairs being required, because it will limit the amount of civilian factories that you have available for repairs. And the debuff lasts for an entire year, which sucks. So try to do this one last if you can help it. Take the research hit first. Just to add on to what I said, try to, if you can, get Hoover Dam maxed out on infrastructure, because doing so gives you a lot of additional resources, primarily water. Also, if you haven't done so already, because I am a goober, switch this off after you won the war. Saves you an extra civilian factory, as yeah, you don't need to be trading the water. You will be needing to trade for scrap metal, so make sure that you do that before you become lacking in it. So I'll take the one factory off water, put that towards the NCR. The NCR will not attack you for a long time, or unless you provoke it. So that's totally fine. One tech that I've seen people research eventually, with Brotherhood factions is air. Um, you can do it, but I would strongly recommend just get anti-air since you don't have a lot of population to begin with, and if you build a lot of aircraft and you go to war with Kaiser, like 9 out of 10 of all your casualties are going to be airmen getting shot down. And it will happen a lot. So I wouldn't bother with aircraft, at least when fighting Kaiser. You can do it if you want to squash some of your smaller neighbors, but for Kaiser, this is not viable. So I wouldn't touch air if I was you. Start to get near towards February, March, and April, um, I would start hoarding your PP. Make sure that you have a PP value of at least 175 going into February, and just keep it above that point. When Kaiser invades, we want to seek a ceasefire ASAP. We do not want to delay that for as long as we can, because the longer it goes on, the more people that die. The more people that die, well, it's not great for you. Ideally, when you're going into your war with Kaiser, this is what you're going to want your paladin patrols to look like, with a total of 15 combat with some fire teams and or chems if you decide to go the route of chems. Otherwise, you could swap that out with demolitions or dogs if you decide to go that route. Any excess army experience that you have, I would just keep holding onto it. You don't need it for the early stages of the army experience area, unless you wanted to put it towards Steel Before Flesh or Maxon's Honor. Those are also really good to get if you have excess army XP early on. I don't think I have seen Free Folk be victorious over here in Navarro in quite a long while. If I'm wrong and anyone else sees this more commonly than I do, please let me know in the comments, because usually it's either the Shi or the NCR that win that conflict. So yeah, NCR, you just lost Navarro and you lost the Mojave. Not doing so hot for you this game, are you? Okay, so um, this is generally the latest it will happen is around April of 21st. I have seen it happen a little sooner, but this is generally when you should expect the Legion to come for you. Is middle to late April. So when they attack, they are going to be relatively weak at the start, and they will not punch through. If you have set up power armor on all 4 of the immediate crossings, they cannot and will not get through no matter how hard they try. They'll be forced to attempt naval invasions, but as long as you have those, the coast and more importantly your ports covered by troops, there's nothing they can do. If you have the PP, you can immediately go ahead and click Appeal for Truce, and that'll immediately end the conflict between you and Kaiser, just like that. However, this also gives you the opportunity to mobilize the people for some extra manpower, and I would strongly suggest you go ahead and do that. You don't need either of these 2 bonuses either, although the extra factory output is very tempting. Very tempting, but you're already out. By this point, you should be outputting a lot of stuff. Another thing you also do at this time is go ahead and set up your spies in the Legion, because you will want to be going for the Securitron heists. This will give you a bunch of Securitron robots, which are still a ways off because you have to research heavy robots, but it will massively help out your bulk of your front line by having a few divisions of heavy robots. Okay, so as you can see, it's been about almost a month, and yeah, try as the Legion might, they cannot break through. Our units have too much armor and too high of stats. They won't punch through. No matter how hard they try, they will just bleed themselves dry. So you could leave this to tick for a while if you wanted to bleed the Legion dry. You could, but as you can tell, if you just kind of look up here, they have the men to throw around. You do not. So whilst losing 6 men doesn't look like a lot, they can lose 731 troops and it'd be a drop in the bucket for the Legion. So at the moment, this is not a war you're gonna win, obviously. So the sooner you piece out of it, the better off for you. You will fight the Legion another day. Trust me on that. So you're gonna appeal for a truce. They should accept. There it is. Kaiser accepts. Perfect. All right. So that doesn't end your troubles with Kaiser. It just ends your troubles with him for right now. For now, you're going to begin to turn your attention north. So you're going to turn your attention towards Mr. House. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, as the peaceful route, it's going to be at around this point that I would recommend you now start to get rid of all of your excess divisions. It's going to give you back a ton of manpower and a ton of infantry equipment and anti-tank weapons, all of which is going to go towards the units that actually matter, our power armor divisions, because we are going to have a lot of paladins. I will tell you that much. Okay, so once you've completed the Serpent's Hunger, you might be tempted to go straight for the Jewel of the Mojave, and you totally can. Valid. However, this is where we're going to double back and we're going to open up Archimedes. This is going to give you an insane buff, and it's going to make Mr. House's Securitron robots feel nothing more like a bunch of scrap bots when faced up against your power armor divisions. Oh boy, I'm sure Elijah would be just giddy at this moment. Oh boy. So now with that, we're going to now go for Jewel of the Mojave. And Mr. House here, this poor man is going to have a very bad day soon. A very bad day indeed, sir. So before you make your big attack on Mr. House here, make sure to maximize the effectiveness of Archimedes. You give as many troops as possible to whichever general is going to lead the attack, as the buff can only be used by one general at a time and not a field marshal. So make sure they're the ones that are using Archimedes. With that, it's time to watch Mr. House and his Vegas Strip dream come crashing down before him. So let's go ahead to declare war, take over the states. I'm gonna go ahead and activate Nolan and trigger Archimedes, and we sit back and enjoy the fireworks. With that, whilst we wait for Mr. House to kick the bin, we're gonna go ahead and start preparing for the Legion, because when Mr. House dies, it won't be too long afterwards that the Legion will come knocking on your door. And this is when you're gonna start taking some time to prepare against them. So let's just sit back and enjoy the fireworks. yes. Poor Mr. House and his dream. Wonder how many people watching the video here chose to side with Mr. House in New Vegas, eh? I'm sure anyone that prefers him will feel very upset. Alright, and so that's the end of Mr. House. So with that, we take all his states and move forward from there. Okay, so with that, we are going to make preparations with our troops to go back against Kaisar's border. Maybe we'll take Sky Rivers, not sure just right now. There is benefits to getting Area 51. You can get some interesting stuff if you take it. So if you want to justify against them, you absolutely can. It takes 205 days. I'll just do that to leave myself an option for it. As long as you maintain a proper border garrison against Kaisar, you should be fine. Your robots should be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting as long as you give them a couple units of power armor support. But I think that is where I am going to leave the guide for now. If you would like to see more of this guide, like a part 2 for how to carry on from 2078 and beyond, leave a like, maybe a subscribe, and thank you for tuning in to this guide. Take care, guys.